Pioneers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk.
Good evening.
And welcome, folks. Welcome to another edition of Treasure Talk. We got an awesome
Yes, indeed.
tonight, don't we, Jeff?
Yeah, and I tell you what I think I'd like to do right now for just this second, Phil. I'm going to take us off the screen and leave the picture. We've got a background picture up there because that is one special person that we're honoring tonight. So we'll be right back. Just think, everybody out there, just look at the picture and have a fond remembrance. I know. I think you and I've talked about it a little bit, Phil. That picture, that's pretty apropos because Fizz is captain in the boat in heaven. He's on a treasure hunt.
Yes, he just was the most kindest and encouraging treasure hunter that I've ever met. You know, he just was super guy, and man, is he missed for sure. I met him I met him years and years ago at the Metal Detecting Club here in Tampa. He was a guest speaker, and this must have been, it was a long time ago. And he just was such a wonderful speaker. You know, I know he was a lot of things, a speaker, author, written a load of books, and he just was a super guy. And
well, he was a good friend to everybody.
Yes.
You know, and the only people that I ever heard Carl Fismer say a derogatory word about was a politician and a bureaucrat.
Yes, and I'm going to pop
That's the only thing. Everybody else he had nothing but good to say about.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm going to see if I can pop this picture up of Carl when he was in the shop. And there we go.
There you go.
There we go. We got his picture. He was just always happy, smiling. He loved talking treasure, and he's holding a treasure coin from forgot what ship that's from. I think it's a British ship. But then my good buddy Joe, he had to photobomb us, but that's okay. Everybody wanted to be around Carl. He's very addictive. You just wanted to be around him, his spirit for sure. And let me remove that real quick.
He just got, you know, when we were doing Treasure Tales special shows, you know, in Sebastian with the whole group with Terry and Fred, Sid and KT and a bunch of other renowned treasure hunters. Carl, he had something for everybody.
Yes.
You know, and everybody loved it. They just went wild when Carl got there. So I was telling Scooter earlier, the house that I rented, you know, didn't have hardly enough parking for everybody who was coming. So, but it had a pretty good sized ditch. That didn't faze Captain Fizz. Fizz drove through the ditch and parked in the front yard. He says, "I'm here." So
that's awesome. I know at the detecting club, he was always one of the top favorites at the club for speaking because he was just encouraging. You know, it was just awesome to be around him, and he is sorely missed for sure. And I know we have their family here tonight, so we're going to share on some memories. And folks, if you have any detecting equipment questions, don't put them in the feed tonight. Just call me at the shop because we can handle that there, and we don't want to do that tonight.
No questions or comments about Carl. And if you have a special remembrance of him, definitely put those in the chat. And a question for Scooter and Diana and about Carl or something in that regard. And we'll go over some other things a little later in the show, but that's the vein of the questions we want to cover tonight. So I think we need to get to it because this hour is going to fly.
Right. So, we really don't need to do the housekeeping because the only thing we'll say is today's show, as always, is brought to you by your friends at Myers Metal Detecting. And the rest of it is all, of course, our opinions for sure.
Yep, that is right. And we have, go ahead.
I just shortened it up tonight, Jeff. So we have more
Okay,
time.
works for me.
Yes.
Works for me. So let's see. Let's bring on everybody. Carl's wife, Scooter, and his daughter, Diana.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Oh, it's our pleasure for sure. And for the folks who don't know about Carl, which I can't believe that would be anybody, but he's written loads of books, and you have those on Amazon now. Just Google his name, Carl Fismer. You'll be able to see his books. This one I stuck from Jocelyn because she always liked getting him to sign the book for her because her family's from the Keys, also from Key West originally. But he signed it, Jocelyn Pillage and Plunder, Captain Fismer, Fizz. But he was always the favorite speaker at the Metal Detecting Club for sure.
You love to talk.
Oh, good. He had so many stories, and
Yes.
I think he said most of them are true, or some of them.
At least some of them were true.
All of them are true. That's what he always said. But super for sure. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about Carl's treasure hunting? Stuart?
What I was going to do is read something that I actually said at Carl's funeral. Most people know Carl as a treasure hunter, but he had a big, wide variety of life before his treasure hunting days. So I thought I could just go through something about 5 or 6 minutes worth, and then there'll be questions, I'm sure, or laughter, I hope. So here we go. Who do you know was born October 30th, 1938, the night Orson Welles aired his Halloween episode, War of the Worlds, on the radio, which convinced the listening public that the Martian invasion had happened? Was this the start of a lifelong interest in outer space, aliens, and movies? Who do you know that flunked 1st and 4th grade in spite of having an above average IQ? Did he flunk because instead of going to school, he played all day with 5 dogs and cut his sandwich into 6 pieces to share with them? Who do you know whose father ran a movie theater where he watched the movies all the time? Is this where he learned to watch all the credits? And boy, was that boring to have to sit through every movie and watch every credit. And that began did that begin his lifelong love of movies? Old cowboys and dramas in black and white, of course. Who do you know that when his father died when he was 8 years old, got many odd jobs and gave his mother 80 to 90% of the money he made to help take care of his family during and after the World War II and the Great Depression? This act of caring and taking responsibility for the family continued throughout his military service. Who do you know that saw an ad in a magazine that said he could pick a prize if he sold enough garden seeds? With the help of family, he sold enough to pick, guess what? A diving mask, which he used in the bathtub. Wish I had that antique now. Was this the beginning of diving for him? Who do you know who would join the Army in 1958 and volunteer to jump out of a perfectly good airplane 26 times? A few months ago, he was still looking for the guy who packed his parachute wrong, so he had to go all the way to the ground on the reserve chute. I guess he could always stay calm and think in the face of danger. That trait would certainly come in handy throughout his life. Who do you know who made many good friends during the military service and who kept in touch with them throughout his life? And when I wrote this, it was just yesterday, I learned that only 2 of his original buddies remain alive. one of them who is still in the Israeli army and we have not heard from. Who do you know married Donna Spalding in 1962 and had 2 wonderful children, Lee Allen and Diana Lynn, sitting here with me? After Donna died in an automobile accident, who do you know would leave a good paying job at Fisher Body, where he was a tool and die maker, and move to Florida? The kids were 4 and 7, and he had no friends and no job lined up at the destination. A friend he met in Sarasota had a metal detector, go figure. The first time he took it on the beach, he found a silver spoon with his initials, CF, on it. Was this the beginning of the pursuit of finding treasure for the rest of his life? And by the way, I still have that spoon. Although he was 2 years older than the maximum hiring age, who do you know would make weekly visits to the chief of the City of Sarasota Fire Department after being told he was too old to be hired? After many weeks, the chief finally gave him the physical and written exam, which he aced. This was important to him because he would have financial security and stability with working hours for the children. And I wasn't around then either, by the way. Who do you know that was in the first EMT and paramedic class in Sarasota County? As one of his paramedic instructors, which is how I met him, I received a phone call one evening from him and was told we were going to take Amanda's dog to the hospital to see her. Amanda was a patient in the ICU where I worked. I told him I'd get fired, but I went anyway. That night, who do you know that won my heart and was such an outstanding act of kindness to someone he did not even know? He was there telling the story with his classmates, as a paramedic would say, guess what? She gave me a bad grade, so I married her. Who do you know that won Fireman of the Year for an outstanding rescue? When the Sarasota Fire Department got its first fireboat, who do you know volunteered and was put in charge of it? One day on a routine training mission, he threw the anchor right on top of a shipwreck. This was the beginning of his interest in shipwrecks. Over the next several years, he made several trips to the Florida Keys, and after meeting Art McKee, the father of modern day treasure hunting, his interest in shipwrecks was cemented for the rest of his life. Who do you know that in 1980 would once again quit a good job, a job that he loved, except for the politics, of course, and move his family to the Florida Keys to work in the treasure hunting business? Again, he had no job or a stable place to live. After I met D.L. Cheney while filling dive tanks at a local dive shop, who do you know would show up where D.L.'s boat was docked and meet D.L. and the researcher Jack Haskins? Jack told D.L., do not train the competition. But more than 30 years later, he and Jack were still best of friends and had spent thousands of hours working many of shipwrecks with him. Unlike Jack, he believed in publicizing the treasure business and was on 26 magazine covers, was the subject of or wrote numerous newspaper and magazine articles, and wrote 3 books about treasure hunting. Who do you know that during the 44 years after moving to the Keys, he would dive on over 100 shipwrecks and recover millions of dollars in coin and artifact from many countries around the world? Who do you know that met astronauts, Arthur C. Clarke, many authors, movie directors and stars, famous musicians, politicians, and thousands of everyday people who loved his stories about adventure and the lure of sunken treasure, most of which were true? Who do you know that gave many treasure talks and lectures, did multiple TV appearances, lectured at many fundraising events, and his favorite, of course, the TV series Treasure Divers? Who do you know that was larger than life and escaped death by surviving 6 primary cancers, by having grace and a positive attitude like no one I have ever known? I'm sorry, we're having a little trouble here. Ironically,
I understand.
that's okay. Ironically, he died on Mel Fisher's birthday. Y'all know that. Hopefully, he, Jack, Mel, DL, Pat Klein, and many other treasure finders who passed before him are now having a great party at God's side, drinking rum and telling tall tales of treasure. Many treasure hunters still alive are hoping he sends them the exact coordinates of a few of the missing wrecks. The last audible words uttered to me by the guy I was married to for almost 50 years were, of course, "I love you." Sorry. He peacefully died in his sleep, holding my hand. I am sure that many of you knew this great, fearless guy, Carl Fismer, and were lucky enough.
Hi, Lee.
Hey.
We knew him and loved him.
That's my son, Lee Allen, just came on there if y'all can see him.
Yep.
Yep.
Hello.
Hi, Lee. Good to have
Hi.
you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Cheers.
We got a comment we want to show, Scooter.
Okay.
You probably will remember some of this. So
Okay.
here's the comment from Treasure Tom.
Yeah.
It says, Carl told me about a job he had once in Venezuela that turned scary. Once they arrived on site, they realized it was sea snake mating season.
Oh, God.
To the
Well-
wreck, they had to dive, and a mass of snakes they had to go through.
I'd like to tell you a lot about that. It wasn't actually Venezuela, but it was certainly in the Caribbean. And as a nurse, I don't know if y'all knew that, but I'm a nurse. And as a nurse, my job, or one of my many jobs, when they were going on an out of the country trip, was to make sure they had their shots and food and, whatever all they needed to get out of the country safely. So I was talking to the University of Miami, who was very helpful in all of that. And they told me, well, one of the big things there is there's sea snakes. And I said, okay. And he said, and the guy said, and they're very poisonous. And I said, okay, so where can I get some anti-venom to at least have like a first dose or two on the boat? And then I'm sure there's some inland. And he said, we don't really need that. And I said, well, why not? And he said, because if they get bit, they won't make the surface.
Oh,
and I'm
shoot.
like, oh, okay. So that was a trip where, back in the early days, there wasn't a lot of communication like we have today. So I didn't hear from him for quite a while. And the first time he called me, I said, just tell me one thing. Are there snakes? And he said, every day there's thousands of them and we have to jump through them to get underneath them. But he said, the funny thing, they were beautiful. We have some pictures of them. Of course, I don't know where they are now, but there are some pictures of them. So they're really beautiful snakes, but they have little tiny mouths. So it'd be really hard to bite you. And I said, oh, that makes me feel a lot better. So yeah, that's a snake story. And it is a true story.
So, Lee, we're very glad that you joined us tonight. And you got any remembrances you'd like to say?
Well, yeah. I remember that I spent one summer diving with Dad down there in Sebastian, Fort Pierce, and it was my first summer doing that. And I found my first coin there with him, and that was really a lot of fun. That was a good summer. I was really great to be able to spend the whole time diving with him and learning from him because, he knew it all. And so then he got me on the cover of the magazine with metal detector and the coin, and that I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What magazine was it, Lee?
I was Treasure magazine.
What was the year and the month? Do you remember?
I think it was 92. 92. So it would have been yeah, pretty sure it was 91 or 92.
Hurricane Andrew year.
What's that?
Hurricane Andrew year. 92.
No.
Yeah.
Was that when it was?
Had to have been 91 then because he was in India during that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that though. I still have that picture on my wall.
Do you?
Well, let's talk about the captain in the room. Somebody lurking behind you, Scooter.
Yeah.
We had a celebration of life over at Fort Pierce on his birthday this past year. I mean, it was somebody's great idea to do it. And of course, I loved it. And whoever, I don't know still to this day who actually had that made, But when you came up the steps to the place, and there was well over 100 people there, by the way, when you came up to the steps, he was standing at the top of the stairs. So, of course, he came home with me, and now he sits here in my office all the time. So I get to talk to him a lot.
Yeah, that was a great
we'd
weekend.
love to be able. Yeah, we'd love to be able to talk to him again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wouldn't we all?
Yes.
Yeah, and we do, don't we, Phil? We talk to him all the time.
Me too.
In one way or another. Because I tell you, there's very seldom a show that we do, and we do every week, that Carl is not mentioned or in some way is involved with the show. It's just he was that special to that many people.
Yes, he was,
So-
for sure.
That's nice.
I actually
that's
went
nice
on
to
his
hear.
I went on his Facebook page a couple days ago to put this on there because I know people are still there, and I noticed there's like 6,500 and some followers. So it didn't surprise me.
Yeah, he was just very, very special. I can't tell you what he meant to us on the show and to Phil at the shop, and the other people involved when we did our special things in Sebastian. It was a very, very, very special time, and everybody, like I said, their hair went on fire when Captain Fizz got there. And so it was just real, real special. And the times he was on the show, I mean, he'd been on the show a number of times, him and Mark Littleton and Brad Williamson, which they're going to stop by in a few minutes to tell us a couple Fizz stories regarding Scuba Wise and their time on the Pandion. So that's had to be a real special time. I mean, Carl was diving right up till he got sick, wasn't he?
Actually, he came home from a trip with the people from the big shots, I guess you have to call them, from the Dominican Republic. They were up here and he was finalizing all the papers to go back to work the conception. That's what he was doing. And he came home exceptionally tired. And we got in the hospital a few days after that. And, it just all went downhill from there. But to be very honest, 3 days before he passed away, he was still talking about Treasure, what all I needed to do to get everything together for that conception trip, which of course I had already started working on, obviously, etc. So he was really involved in Treasure right up to the very end, which was a good thing, so.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed it is. Well, I think Mark and Brad are in the green room, and I think everybody knows them. So why don't we bring them on and they can give us some remembrances of Captain Fizz. So here is Mark Littleton.
Hey guys.
Hey, Mark.
Captain Brad.
Hi everyone.
Hey.
So how's it down there for y'all?
I'm here in my office. I'm actually everything's nice. I'm sitting in AC, so I'm pretty comfortable. It's getting warm and muggy. I know it's that time of year, but I gotta jump in your scooter. I just gotta tell you, and I may get choked up when I start to talk about this, but when you just mentioned his last words to you were "I love you."
Yeah.
I don't know if you could see in the camera. I was just crying.
Sorry.
He was an incredible man, and that's so touching. I mean, of course, those would be his last words to you.
He was a good
Something
guy.
beautiful like that, and amazing. So
Yeah, he was a good guy. He wasn't perfect, in case y'all think he was. I got news for you. Just in case.
that is true. That is true. Yeah.
There were moments, but in general, he was always a good guy.
Couldn't find any better.
Even in the cups of rum, and there were many cups of rum, he was still a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you miss him terribly, Mark.
Oh, absolutely. Sure do. Now, it's funny, Scooter, you mentioned about Carl's staying back in 1st and 4th grade, as did I, which I find that kind of ironic. Okay, I was also with the 82nd Airborne and a paramedic for 25 years. So Carl
Yeah,
and
I
I
know.
really had a lot going with each other.
Yes.
We kind of bonded a lot over the stuff we've done over the years. And I got to say, in 2010, when I finally moved down here to Florida, I was following Carl a lot before that. I finally had my first chance to meet him. And I met him, took his class down in the Keys, and it was fantastic. Took a class with Brad and Carl, and that's when School Wise was born after that. It was just right after that. So been with Carl for quite a while. So a lot of stories I've learned from Carl, and I'll tell you, he's definitely something. Definitely something.
He always said, we lived there for 40 plus years. Why didn't we do that long before that? Take the divers out. You know, it just, I mean, we or in the early years, we took some out, but certainly not like that, like y'all do it today. So, you know, he always wondered why he didn't do that before, you know.
Well, I got to be honest, the big crowds we were because of Carl. He was the draw. Carl and Brad with the Expedition Unknown and everything he's done on TV. Those two are the draw for the crowds.
But I can't hold a candle.
No doubt.
I can't hold a candle to Carl. Come on. I mean, I appreciate that, but he was the man. I mean, I want to jump in and share one thing, like a little known story, because Scooter, it was beautiful when you're sharing like some of the other parts people may not know and some of the good things he's, you know, the beautiful things he's done. When I made a decision to go back to school and continue on with my education in the medical field, I remember I was taking classes and I couldn't afford the books. And he knew I was going to the library at night. And in the reference section, I would be getting the books, you know, on chemistry, anatomy, physiology, reading them, making photocopies of them. And you know, we were just talking. I didn't think anything about it. And then he just said, well, Brad, I'm going to be up in West Palm tomorrow. Let's meet up. I'm like, okay. So we go to meet up. I had no idea what was going on. He's like, okay, where's your school? I'm right over here. I said, okay, where do they sell the books? Right here. He goes, go get your books. And he went and bought my books for me.
Yeah.
You know, and that wasn't cheap. Like one of the books, the Anatomy and Physiology, was a $300 book.
Yeah.
But he would do that, and it's, you know, out of the goodness of, you know, both, because I know, Scooter, you were involved in this too. Out of the goodness of both of your hearts, you did that. And, you know, now I've got into Johns Hopkins University, my master's. I'm carrying a 4.0. But none of this stuff would have happened if it wasn't for these acts of kindness, you know, that I think people need to know about this stuff with Fizz. Yeah, everyone knows about the treasure hunting, but a little bit of the behind the scenes, the man he was. So, yeah.
He was a lot more than just the treasure, and all of those good parts of him he brought to the treasure. As you all know by how you said in the beginning, how kind he was to everyone, everybody loved him. That was his nature. He really was like that, except politicians, of course. There's
also a lot of animals alive today because he was a great big animal lover. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but there was never a hungry animal when he was around.
As in sharing his sandwich with 5 dogs. That's what that was for.
He tells that story often about the 1,000 little baby turtles all named Fizz running around now. He did a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, he was always saving something.
Yeah.
Well, he always his heart was so good. I keep going back to the times we had in Sebastian when we had our special shows, and Carl always brought gifts for the people. You know, we had a bunch of people staying in the house, but he always brought gifts. He brought books and all different kinds of stuff that he would give to everybody. Just so, you know, he just wanted to do it. And that was very, very special time. And the people, you know, there's not hardly a week goes by I don't get contacted by some of our friends and say, are we going to do it again? We're going to do it again. I tell you, I don't know. We can't do it without Carl. That's just the way it is. It wouldn't be the same. But I may call you, Scooter, say, hey, can I borrow that Fizz back there, and we'll do one.
Yeah, there you go. He would not like it that you didn't continue. So you really need to think about how to do that. He would not want any of us not to continue doing what we've always done. That's what got me through all of this, believe me, because it's not easy, as you know. And he would want you to continue doing it. And to one of the things he liked that we didn't talk about is the young people, all the young children, how much he liked that. In our early days, we went to several children's hospitals. We'd go in, of course, ahead of time, you have to arrange all that. And being a nurse, I knew how to do all that. We would go in dressed like pirates, take all little pirate things and whatever. And they would bring all the sick kids that were dead and dying, unfortunately, down. And we would have such a good time with them. One time we did that in a children's hospital in St. Louis. And about 32 or 33 years later, we were up in Duluth doing the tall ship show. And this young guy, he was, probably in his 28, 30 years old. He comes up to Carl. He latched onto Carl right away and just hung out with him like for days. And one day he said to me, "Did you guys ever go to St. Louis?" And I said, "Yeah, we have friends live there." "Sure." He said, "Did you ever do the hospital there?" And I said, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And he said, "I was one of those kids."
Wow.
Yeah.
That had to be special.
That was so cool. Yes, that was cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I know Brad and Mark, you both miss Carl terribly on the Pantheon.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely not the same. Carl taught me a lot, taught Brad a lot. We all learned along the ways, and I'll tell you, the stories he tells us, they're just missing. It's just not there anymore. So very difficult, but we keep doing it for him. There's no doubt. We're out there. And I'm still waiting for those numbers, Scooter. One day he'll give me those numbers.
You missed that part. I already talked about that. I get several phone calls to see if he's given them any of them to me.
It's funny.
Yeah, he was great on the boat. I mean, he just loved being out on the water. I mean, that brought him so much happiness,
Yeah.
Even towards the end, it was a little bit harder for him. He just wanted to be out on the boat, be out there doing the treasure hunting, just living out his dream, being who he was, who he was all the way to the end, which is, as you mentioned, he was one of a kind. There'll never be another.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed he was. And he's very much missed. Brad, Mark, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know that Carl's smiling down on us now, and he loved you guys, and he's very happy that you were able to join us tonight. So we just want to thank you very, very much. You're two very special people. To Carl, Scooter, Diana, Lee, and to Phil and I, and everybody that watches our show. You're very special to us. So
Thank you for letting us be part of this.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
And we will talk to you soon, I hope.
Yep.
Later, guys.
We're not.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So, Lee, tell us a
Yes.
few more stories, please.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that as I was listening to the people talk. We was talking about how much you like to be out on the boat. When he first started getting into this, he got me certified when I was I think I was 15 going on 16. I was the youngest kid there. I was one of the youngest guys to get certified. So I'm really glad he did that, because I got to spend a lot of time those summers when we first started going down to the Keys from Sarasota all the time, doing a lot of diving. And I really enjoyed that a lot. It was a lot of fun, and I'm so glad he did. I still have my card from that original card. I've saved it all this time.
Wow.
It's falling apart.
Very good.
But,
Well, I have one more picture that I would like to just pop up here and you guys will know about it. So I'm going to just pop it up here. See, there you go. That with Mark and Brad and Captain Fizz, that was a special time for them. And I just wanted to let everybody see this picture.
Yeah.
He lived for that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was like when I also was traveling around doing trade shows with him too. He was like being with a celebrity. It's like everybody wanted to talk to him, take their picture with them, and it was pretty interesting. It was a cool thing to see.
And he always had time to have his picture taken with anybody and everybody.
Yes.
He never said no that I saw, unless it was a politician.
Right. Yeah, he wouldn't hold back any punches on that subject.
That's for sure.
No, he could get a little verbose when you're talking about the bureaucrats, but that's I think we all can at any given time. So
That's for sure.
And especially with treasure hunting, with all the fights the treasure hunters had to do just to keep what they found. So, yeah, hey, I wanted to pop up a quote that was from Carl. So let me add this to the stage. There you go. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. Carl Fismer. You know, he was just such an encourager to other metal detectors and treasure hunters. He just was. That's why he was so loved at the metal detecting club meetings. He just was a Superman for sure.
and you know, Phil, you'll agree with this. How many people do you know that would take a lot of their treasures to the club meetings and let people pick it up?
Yes.
I mean, you know, he's got a gold escudos and stuff out there, and they're sitting on the table, and he lets people pick it up. He did that at the things we did. I'm going, Carl. He goes, it's all right. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
That was his way of sharing it with everybody, so everybody could actually say, "Hey, I held it, 8 escudo in my hand." Not everybody can say that.
Yeah, it's true.
See,
That was everybody.
That was one of the things that was really important to him, that to share. Sharing was a big thing with him, with kids, with people, because nobody hardly ever has even seen a real gold doubloon or piece of 8. Not really. I mean, we all knew that as kids, the stories, but to actually see them and touch them, we had that a lot. We absolutely would always let people. I mean, there's a few things we wouldn't let them handle because they're fragile, but anything like coins, not a problem at all. So.
Yeah, I mean, people were pissed. Hey, look at this. Hey, holding on. Hey, all that kind of stuff. They loved it. They absolutely loved it.
Yeah, like the 30-pound Natosha silver bars. People like that. Wow, that's heavy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I never found a eight real coin. I've never found one, but I did buy one, and I bought it from Captain Fizz. I went to metal detecting club meeting, so I just thought that was cool. That's the only one I have in my collection.
And his books are still for sale, aren't they, Scooter?
Yes, they're on Amazon. So that's one of them. Man Overboard's one. One of them's called Uncharted Waters, which was the first one. And another one is called Time Ranger. Time Ranger is mostly about Jack Haskins, and the Man Overboard is a lot of things that we forgot to put in the first book. So it actually turned out to be 3 books. So, and they're
I think Phil has all 3 of them in the shop.
I own all 3 of them at home in my collection. Actually, my wife Jocelyn would say they're hers because they're her, but they are excellent books for sure. So if somebody wants to know about treasure hunting, they need to go on Amazon and get those.
Awesome. Sam Milner was actually our ghostwriter, as you would call it, on those books. And what he did, which was really wonderful, Carl would just sit down and just tape stories one right after the other and send him the tapes. And then he would type them pretty much like Carl would say them. So if you really read those, a lot of them sound just like him talking.
Well, that's what makes the book Carl's book.
Yes.
Because anybody that's ever talked with him can just read that and say, hey, that's Captain Fizz. He's talking, and they close their eyes and they can hear him saying those words. So that's what makes it so special. And he was always, every time he was on the show, he's been on our show probably half dozen, 10 times. Henry Phil.
From my
I'd say, hey, Captain, you want to give away a book tonight? He says, no, let's give away 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I said, he was always like that.
Yeah, very generous for sure.
Absolutely.
So you still got, I think we talked a little earlier, Scooter, about some coins and things that you may be interested in selling.
Right. I have the and things part as well. So if anybody's interested in anything you think the captain might have had, now nothing super expensive, because all of our great treasures are either already in museums or are slated to go to museums. That's been done a long time ago. So because there's some things that are really priceless and should really be, shared out with the world. So there's some things I wouldn't sell. Of course, my children and grandchildren, certainly I have stuff laid aside for them so they have remembrances. But I have a lot of things. I know you can't see in here, and I can't really turn this computer around very well, but there's probably 250 treasure books beside me. You can see a few of them behind me here. Okay, there's a whole wall of them here. A lot of them have been out of print for years. Some of the most famous books are on the shelf here, but I don't intend to sell those now. So please don't anybody ask me that. I do have a few double copies of a few things. So if somebody wants to know, just send an email to the show and they'll forward everything on to me so that, I don't get bombarded.
That's the way we would prefer to do it for everybody.
Yes,
is you send an email to Scooter to treasuretalkshow@gmail.com.
Right.
We will forward it on to her.
Right.
So she doesn't get bombarded or, it's kind of a screening process because everybody knows there's nefarious people out there and we do not want that. And then, stay what you were interested in. And if she has it, then she can make the decision to get with you and we'll handle it that way. Okay. And we'll go, she's going to get a list of some things she wants to sell that I will post on the Treasure Talk Facebook page and Florida Metal Detecting page. And you can contact us at the show and we'll get it to Scooter. And she would prefer, and we would prefer that that's the way to handle it. So if you would please. And there's our email right there on the screen.
One of the things that Carl wanted to do that he didn't get finished, actually didn't get a really good start, except for ideas, which of course he always had great ideas about things. He always wanted to build a monument down in the Florida Keys to treasure salvers. I'm not talking about Key West. I'm not talking about Mel Fisher. I'm just talking about the northern part of the Keys, because that's where all the 1733 fleet is, and all the people that work there. So we're talked about building a monument there. I've been trying to, our favorite thing, politicians. I've been trying to work with the Keys politicians about that. So everything that I've been selling of his, I'm putting aside, and I'm going to use that money to build that monument. When we did that thing over at Sebastian, that where Carl's picture was here, that's what we were doing. I raised money that night for that project. So I'm working on it, but you can't move the Keys government. It's slow. The only government I know slower is the Bahamians. Okay. So, and they're kind of similar. So
they're cousins.
Correct. Sure. That's correct. So
I think that's good.
And
that
I'm going to read that comment there from Tim Naylor. He said, I want a copy of the Time Ranger, which Carl autographed. Yeah. He etched a note explaining that he could not get Jack's autograph, so he enclosed a canceled check with Jack's autograph on it.
Yeah, a lot of those.
We were fortunate enough and friends with Jack enough. Jack had no family, and so he left all his worldly belongings, his house, his cars, what little treasure he had, and all of his research to us. So needless to say, we have a lot of stuff. If anybody wants research, I got research. So you can also say you're interested in something, and I may or may not be able to get that to you. Depends on what it is.
So we had somebody in the Beep Quest in the chat that's interested in buying a shipwreck coin. The procedure is to send an email with what you want, what you have an interest in, to treasuretalkshow@gmail.com. We will get it to Scooter and she can take it from there. But that's how we need to do it. So if you're interested in anything like that, this is how it's done. It's right there on the screen, treasuretalkshow@gmail.com.
So
right
if you want a specific treasure coin or artifact for that matter, you need to tell me what shipwreck, because there's lots of them. Okay. And does it need to be shipwreck? Could it be a land find? Because there were certainly lots of those coins as well. So it just depends. I might have what you want. I may not, but you know, I have to have a starting spot. Does it need to be gold or silver? Probably silver in this day and age. Do you want a wrap around it so you can wear it on your neck? Keeping in mind that gold is over 3,000 an ounce. So it's going to cost a substantial volume of money if I'm going to get coins wrapped for you. So, but I need to know all of that. I mean, you can't just say I want a treasure coin because there's lots of them. Okay. So you have to have an idea what you want.
And make it detailed as possible in
Correct.
the email. So that way it'll happen quicker. The more detailed you make it, it'll happen quicker. And there again, I'm going to reiterate this. The way you were going to handle this, treasuretalkshow@gmail.com. That's where you send it. And I will send the email to Scooter. That's how we prefer to do it. So as detailed an email as you can of what you're looking for. And that's how we'll handle it. Sooner we do it, the sooner you get it.
There you go. Perfect.
And it goes to a good cause.
Yep.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
For sure.
can't now just picture this. You see Captain standing behind Scooter and Diana. Would that make us just a killer statue, a monument? That would be. I tell you what, it wouldn't get any better than that.
No, I don't think I could get that approved. Okay, I'm struggling as it is.
You know what? You know what we ought to do,
Something
Scooter?
a little different than that, but
Take it to the tourism council.
you
And
don't
they'll
even
go,
worry
hey,
about
this
that.
is bringing people to the Keys.
Mhm.
You never know.
Is
Good work.
where is the park at, Scooter?
It's in Alamorada.
Almirada. Okay.
Yeah, that's I've already tentatively got an agreement from Key Largo to put it up there, but he wanted it in Alamorada. So until I get a definitive no from Alamorada, and I don't take no too easy. You got to really tell me no about 25 or 30 times, because my opinion always is no doesn't mean no. It just means not right now.
Right.
So, and that's where I'm at. I'm at the not right now stage. So, but eventually I might have to do it in Key Largo, but I would prefer not to, because most of the fleet's down in Alamorada area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason for that.
Yeah, that is the area for it, indeed.
For sure.
Yeah, spent a lot of time diving there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Now, Lee, do you still do any diving, any type of treasure hunting?
No, I haven't done any of that for a while, unfortunately. So no, I kind of fell out of it. But I'm really grateful for all the memories, like doing all those traveling during all those trade shows, the summers we spent diving down there. It was quite a thrill.
Yeah, it would have been just, and it's being with your dad. I mean, that's the big part of it, regardless of what you were doing, but doing that kind of stuff made it that much more special.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. It was quite a rush. You're down there with the metal detector and you hear that thing go off. You're like, oh, what is it? And, oh, it's a piece of pottery. Found dozens and dozens and dozens of pieces of pottery.
Yeah.
And a few coins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And one day I found a little pocket of coins. It was like 10 coins, I think, in one little pocket. And Dad's like, well, you know what you probably found? You probably found somebody's pouch of coins that they had on him, and it just floated off, and it just sank in that one little hole. And that's where it sat for 300 years almost.
Yeah.
And we tore that whole area apart looking, and we couldn't find another thing.
So, Lee, did you find any gold coins?
No, never. No, just silver. No gold.
Well, silver's good.
Oh yeah, it was fun. Yeah, definitely good. And I got to work the end of that season with Duke Long too. Dad left a couple of weeks early, and I stayed with Duke and helped him bring the boat back down to the Keys, and we spent some time diving out. Duke was a workhorse. That was some fun right there. We found a bunch of $1 little pockets of $1 and $4. So yeah, that was fun.
That would be very much fun. Now, Diana, you haven't really said much tonight, so let's hear from you.
Well, I I know this is going to surprise everyone, but I was not into treasure hunting. So that's why I was deferring all those stories to them. He was just my dad. I didn't share that treasure experience with him, but he was the best person I knew, really. And it's funny because he would send me text messages every couple of days. Come over for beer, come over for lunch. Let's talk, whatever. And just spending those hours with him was, I can't even describe it to people because he was my everything, really. And I do miss him a lot.
Well, I tell you, one thing, my remembrances of Carl is you always got an answer. It may not have been the answer you were looking for, but you always got an answer. If I texted him, I got a reply.
Mm-hmm.
If I sent him an email, I got a reply.
Yeah.
If I called him, he picked up the phone. And we weren't always able to jive and get things done the way we wanted to get it done. But, he was honest about it. He said, if I can do it, I'll do it. If I can't, I can't. And you can't want much more than that.
Right.
So he always had time for everybody.
It's kind of
never,
funny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
He
go ahead.
never pushed anybody away.
Yeah, he didn't do that. I know his, I think the only time he didn't answer a call when I called him, he was doing your show. And I fell at work and broke my wrist. But then he couldn't answer the phone. So had mom call me right back. But I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
That's right. That's right. One of the shows that he was doing with you, she fell and broke her wrist during the show at work. I see there, Jake. That's my grandson. That's Lee's son. That message there.
He's at work.
Oh, he's working. Okay,
working.
I figured he must be.
He's just listening.
Yeah, he went. Yeah, Grandpa went up to New York, then to Massachusetts to go on a Boy Scout trip with them. That's how he was. That was him.
He was always there. Always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we slept on that ship for a couple of nights. It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely fun.
My dogs sure do miss him too.
Oh.
I got hot dogs and all kinds of stuff whenever Grandpa was around.
And our cats.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
He says, "Love you, Grandma and Aunt Diana." How's
Love
that?
you too. Oh, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Oh,
Yeah, you can hear.
Oh, love you, Jake.
Love you, Jake. Sorry, you have to work, son.
Yeah.
He's listening to the show.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's nice you can listen while you're at work too, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where
That's
I am
for
right
sure.
now. I just finished.
So you're work Lee now?
I finished at 7, so it was perfect timing.
Okay. And where do you work at?
I live in New York, in Yorktown Heights, New York. I work at an auto parts store. Working with a friend of mine who owns this business, and that's what I've been doing for about the last 30 years, working in the auto parts business.
Well, you got to reach out to Florida, treasure hunt.
Yeah, I know. I did miss it. I do miss it. That was a lot of fun, like I said. And maybe I'll get Jake a metal detector. We'll go around here because there's a lot of revolutionary stuff in places of the war, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Revolutionary War a lot to hunt around. So
Yeah. We can hook you up with a bunch of people.
I was just gonna say, I know just the place too. Myers Metal Detectors probably sells 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, we sell a couple for sure.
Yeah.
That's the name.
all right, well, I'll be in contact with you there.
And I tell you what, nobody stocks more for less.
There you go.
But one thing we always say,
There you go.
and this is here we go. If Phil don't have it in stock, you don't need it.
Aha! There you go.
That's good.
That's
Right.
our slogan too.
Yeah, exactly.
You should
Yeah.
get Jake one of Carl's detector. It means more when it's something that your grandfather had for sure.
There you go.
I see that all the time because I've been doing this a long time, and people come in and said, "My dad took me treasure hunting and metal detecting.
Mhm.
I want to get back into it." So it's
Oh,
a special time that you guys can do together for sure.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Yes.
Yeah, that would be that. You know what? That's a great idea, Phil. Lee, you and Jake could go detecting.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Especially
think
with,
we will. Now that this is bringing back a lot of memories. So yeah, so we should do that.
And I've got a friend in New York And there's a number of people up there that can would love to take you guys out, I'm sure,
Oh,
if you're interested.
All right.
nice. Yeah. Be nice.
So,
All right,
and
keep that in mind.
Diana has absolutely no interest in going metal detector.
I don't know why. I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
not your
I
thing.
don't like being in the water.
I was just
guess,
about
is
to
the
say
problem.
it was called the ocean water.
Yeah.
Was not
I
her
guess that's
thing.
why, yeah. But I
Well,
know
here,
stories. and-
Diana, I got a proposition for you.
Okay.
It's on the up and up. Trust me.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to be down south treasure hunting on May 28th. I'm going to be in Treasure Island.
Okay, that's close.
That
Yeah.
happens to be my 75th birthday.
Okay.
And we're all going to meet. Phil's going to be there. Jocelyn's going to be there. Scooter, you're welcome to join us. And
Okay.
Diana, we're going to be at Conch Republic.
Okay.
There's going to be a whole everybody that's there going to be there. Knew Carl.
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
So you guys can join us for dinner if you'd like to.
Thank you.
And
Absolutely.
then we'll text you. We'll text you, say, Diana, come over and have some beers.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey,
Yep.
yeah. Send the info to where we need to go. I definitely.
Okay.
will.
I
Sure.
never turned down a beer
Okay.
with my dad. Never. I never did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
had a
so
few there
that'll be-
too.
Yeah, I'll send you the info. I'll send an email to you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And
I see.
you can give it to Diane and whatever. And it'll be May 28th, about 7 o'clock at night. We're going to get our party on.
No good.
I'm-
Alrighty then. That
I'm
sounds
getting
good.
older by the minute.
Aren't we all?
And Jeff,
Yeah.
it looks like you have a few more people in the stream who would like to know about it too. It looks like Sam Truckley says, "When is that, Jeff?" So we might,
Yeah, that is
Oh, the
May
restaurant.
28th.
might build a restaurant for sure.
Yeah,
Annual show. Yeah.
an annual show. Yeah, that we could do. We'll talk about this.
Hey, I like that idea. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
And
I
Pete
tell you what, that is
is
a
asking, was Carl a Boy Scout also?
No, that would be no.
Yeah.
That would be no.
no, he wasn't. Well, I tell you what, Scooter, the hour's gone. Lee,
Okay.
the hour's gone. Diana too. I tell you, it's going to fly, and
Yes.
Yes.
it
Yes, it
did.
did.
Well, I'm excited. Now you're going to come to dinner.
Yay.
Thank you so much for doing this. It means
Yes.
a lot to us
Yes,
to remember
definitely.
him this way.
Well, Carl meant an unbelievable amount to all of us in the metal detecting and treasure hunting community for sure.
Oh yeah, and for us, for Phil and I, on the show, it was just there was no more special person than Carl. That's why I felt very deeply about this, and that's why I'm so happy that you agreed to do it. It
Oh,
just
sure.
it means a lot to me, it means a lot to Phil, and I know that it means a lot to everybody out there watching, because there's a whole bunch of people just absolutely love to.
I know you guys didn't see me very much, but I was always really active behind the scenes, always from day
Sure.
one.
Mhm.
So
Yes, you
Well,
were.
Carl used to say, he says, I got to check with the chief.
that's probably right. Thank you all.
Yes,
Thanks
thank
everybody
you.
online. I appreciate y'all
I
listening.
look forward to
Yes.
meeting you.
Yes, thank you
And-
both very much.
Mhm.
Yes.
And thanks, Lee. Thanks, Scooter, Diana. Now, remember, folks, if you want some treasure coins or anything that Scooter may have for sale, it's got to go through the show. I'm
No.
going to put it up for one last time here. This is how it's done. It is
There you go.
treasuretalkshow@gmail.com. You send the email to me here at the show and be as detailed as possible as to what you're looking for, please.
Yes.
And I will get it to Scooter, and she can decide if she's got something or whatever, and she will get back to you. So this is why we want to do it. We thank you all ever so much for joining us tonight. This has been a very, very special show for Phil and myself and Jocelyn. And I know Joe Vizzi is probably watching. He was a great big part of this as well.
Yes, for
And
sure.
Carl is in our hearts, and he always will be. He's in our minds and always will be.
Thank you
And
very much.
What I would like to do with, I know Phil and I talked about this earlier. We'd like for you guys, everybody, to join us in a prayer right now for Captain Carl. So if you would please, let's pray for Captain Carl.
Absolutely.
Dear Father in heaven, we just thank you so much for having Carl Fismer enter our life. Such a great, great man, always kind, never a bad word for anybody, always there with a helping hand if you needed it. And I know that Captain Fizz is with you in heaven, Father. He is finding gold as scudos left and right, and he is happy, and he's looking down on all of us here, and especially looking down on Scooter and Diana and Lee and his grandsons. He's keeping watch, which he liked to do for everybody. We just ask that you bless his family and keep Carl close to you, Father. For your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
everybody, I want to thank everybody for making this just one of the banner shows that we've ever had.
Absolutely.
We're going to make this a annual Captain Carl Fismer Memorial Show. And I just, before I break down, I want to say goodnight, everybody. Scooter, Diana, I'll be in touch. Lee, thanks so much. I got your
pleasure.
email.
Thank
You'll
you.
be hearing from us.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
See you, son. Love you.
Bye, Lee.
Thank you.
So,
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
next week, we're going to have Fred Banke on the show. He's going to talk to us about sapphire mining. Now, I'm not going to be here. Big Poppy's going to sit in for me. I'm going to be treasure hunting. So Phil will be here, and we'll have a good time next week. Scooter, Diana, we'll see you on the 28th. I'll send the email.
Yeah, send the email. Thanks a lot.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, guys.
Guys.
Good night, everybody, and thanks
Good
for
night.
watching.